Welcome to the BrightWord Books Podcast, where we bring you inspiring conversations with authors who bring light to the world, one story at a time. Today, we're joined by a remarkable guest, Robert Petties, author of the powerful new book, Battle-Tested Soldier. Now, this isn't just a memoir, it's a testament to resilience. Now, many of us have faced challenges in our lives, some more than others. If you've lived a wonderful life with no hardships, if you've never faced adversity, struggled or failed in your life, then, well, this book might not be the right one for you. Robert Petties narrates his battles on three levels: physically, mentally, and spiritually. His experiences on the battlefield handling guns and blood, and his survival through domestic violence, truly stretched him to keep his sanity intact. By recounting these personal and often painful experiences, Robert aims to help others overcome the challenges they face. Because if we look at life, it is another name for hardships. There is no less or more when it comes to pain, and his journey through these battles will not only give readers hope, but encourage them to take meaningful action in their own lives. Now, Robert is a US Army veteran, a survivor, a man of faith, and now an author with a message. One that reminds us that even in life's darkest moments, we can find purpose, strength, and redemption. So, Robert, let's bring you in now. What inspired you to write Battle-Tested Soldier? And why did you feel now was the right time to share your story?
Well, first, I want to say thank you for having me on your show. I'm really excited about to be able to talk to your audience, and it's really a privilege and an honor to be here today. So thank you so much.
Thank you as well. Thanks.
I really believe that I was led by God. I was led by God. I experienced some death situations, maybe about 4 times when my heart had stopped.
Wow.
And during that time, God had kept telling me that, I'm not finished. There's things and work that I need to be done. And so, when you hear those things, you kind of like, okay, well, that's not really talking about me. Who am I? I'm just a nobody, but and then the doctors and the nurses, they would hear my story and they would say, hey, you need to share this. Some would say, you know what? Thank you for that. Now I'm encouraged to go and tackle the things in my life a little differently. So that encouraged me to write this book, Battle-Tested Soldier, to really let people know that we all have battles that we have to deal with in our life, no matter really what age we are, from the little baby all the way up. And so, we can do it. We can do it. Sometimes we have to seek help, but I really feel and grateful that he allowed me to give me this story so I can share to help others.
Well, that sounds fantastic, because it can't be easy, to deal with this on your own or even with help, right? And you talk about battles on 3 fronts: physical, mental, and spiritual. I mean, can you share with us how each of those showed up in your life and how you dealt with them?
Well, I can honestly say that my first challenge probably started way back in football. as a little kid, just trying to be the best, trying to do the things, excellence, trying to improve myself. And, and sometimes that physical battle gets in there because you might have the talent and the skill, but that physicalness you may lack. And that was one of the things that really taught me discipline. It taught me how to endure things with sports. So I have to say sports really taught me a lot, with the struggles, no matter how hard and how things I try, you're going to have your good and you're going to have your bad. And the military also encompassed that, with that physicality, that I thought I was physical ready until I went into airborne school, ranger school, where it really tested who I was. It really tested my physical ability. So there was times when I didn't believe I could make it. And just when I was at my point, I was able to go a little further. So it encouraged me that you can continue on. You just have to give a little bit more effort, a little bit more your time. Don't give up. Don't give in. Just keep pushing. And so that's what taught me the physical aspect of it. And then and when you're talking about mental, the mental aspect was a major challenge for me because there's things that you don't want to share with others. Why? Because when I was going through PTSD at the beginning, PTSD was frowned upon. People thought that, hey, you had PTSD, you was crazy, or you might go out and shoot somebody because you this and that. Because their lack of education, understanding of what PTSD really was, those are the things and assumptions they would have. So you would keep that stuff trapped in. But when you're keeping those mental issues trapped in, it really affects your health. It makes your health worse. Just like trapping stress. Stress can really affect you. I call stress that silent killer because we can actually hurt ourselves mentally and physically and without help by holding that stress in. And then when we talk about spiritual, that spiritual ability on there really, again, tested that. I'm a man of God. I believe in God. I believe that he's always there. I can pray. He can hear me. I believe and feel that I have a relationship with him. And so, but there was times when that was tested. There was time when I felt that I was alone. I felt that because I was going through those things, even though we asked for things like, God, give me more wisdom, give me more understanding, we have to understand that there's a process to that. And we don't always understand it until we're going through it and realize, whoa, I really didn't want to go through this to get to where I am. So, it helped me, the spiritual wise really helped me also to deal with that physical and mental battle, understanding that I know that God was with me and he's carrying me. He's promised me that he will heal me. And although I might not be completely healed on the physical side, I am healed because that's what he said. When it's time to go home, I will have a new body. So I'm grateful for him. That's what helped keep me, my sanity, understanding that also I'm not the only one. Just as soon as I find out and think that I've met my point, he will show me that someone else is struggling much more than I am.
Yeah, that's really interesting, actually, because if you think about your experience in sports and you think about your experience in the military, and it's all about brotherhood, isn't it? It's all about being helped by people who you're with, and you are also going through those stressful environments, even if it is sport or clearly in the military, right? So your book dives into military combat and domestic violence, which are completely different, because in domestic violence, you're going through that alone pretty much, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how did writing about those traumatic, and let's face it, they are traumatic experiences, impact your healing process, both physically and mentally? I mean, that's some mountain to climb without help. And you've mentioned your help already, really.
You're absolutely right. It's a mountain that you have to climb. And it's very, very, very tough. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it's so easy to do, because there's a lot of hurt, especially when we talk about domestic violence. There's a lot of hurt, especially for me as a man, that I've really worked hard for my integrity. I really worked hard to being a good man, although I'm not perfect. I understand that. I make some mistakes in my life, but I believe that, when it came to that, I had to get peace with it because I had anger in my heart. I felt disappointed. I felt betrayed. I felt left out on the island alone because I was a man. I didn't get the same respect or help that a woman would get. So it taught me some things. So sometimes I believe that when I'm going through things, there's a lesson to it. And that it helped me able to write about domestic violence because I learned a lesson. Through that process, I learned the challenges that people that's dealing with domestic violence have to go through. It allowed me to understand more of the red flags when it comes to domestic violence and how we, the victims, dismiss those things. That even though they're there very early, but because we love this person, and we tend to dismiss those things.
Overlook them, yeah.
Yes. And then when it comes to loving them, love don't hurt in that way. I tell everyone that if someone says they love you, they won't beat you. They won't hurt you, because when they love you, when you hurt, they hurt. So it really helped me understand those things. And so I was able to get more compassion for those victims that's victim of domestic violence, not just for men, but also for women. But I was able to felt that I needed to encourage men that there's no shame to say I'm being a victim of domestic violence. So that's one thing that we men have to deal with and overcome. And so that helped me with that healing process. When it comes to the military, I'm still in that healing process. I deal with a lot of things with my soldiers being killed, other people being killed. I've seen a lot of deaths, seen a lot of dead bodies and decapitated bodies and head. That's not something that you enjoy. And many ask me, have I hurt somebody or killed anyone? And sadly to say, that's combat. It's not easy to take life. It's not a video game. It's not like Hollywood. When you're a loving, caring person, understanding that you had to take another life, it's not easy.
No, it must have hurt, Robert. It must have hurt.
Yes, it hurt, but you knew what you had to do because you're trying to come home and bring your people home. So that healing process, again, it taught me. It was able to teach me some things where I can grow more, where I had understanding more. So I'm really grateful for those experiences and everything. But at the same time, it's not something that you wish that you had to do.
No.
That survival guilt really is hard.
Yeah, I can't even imagine, obviously, because I haven't been through that. But I think, it's in a sort of academic way, you can kind of get it. But, I take my hat off to you and other people, who have served, and it must be very, very tough. And, you mentioned that life, and I think this makes so much sense, is essentially a series of hardships, right? But you've also said that it's about learning. So from those hardships, right, how to overcome them and how to deal with it. So how has that perspective shaped your personal growth, throughout your life, really?
Well, I would say that it was very key for me in transforming my life as in the way things are. Going through those things, I can either go all the way back, growing up on the south side of Chicago where there was gangs all around us, having to navigate those things, how, dealing with that and dealing with the gangs, even though I was an athlete at the time, they really didn't bother you as much, but you still had to navigate through that. So those battles that I dealt with there, all the way to the military, made me become stronger, made me have more compassion. It helped shape me to be the best man that I can be at this moment. I believe self-improvement is a continued thing. So where I am now, I hope to be better next time. I always say if someone seen me and say, hey, I haven't seen you in a long time, but you're the same way, then I feel, whoa, I didn't do something right then because you're not supposed to see the same thing. I'm supposed to have changed. There were some things that's supposed to really shape me as the man that I wanted to be. So I would say it really helped shape me to be a great man.
Wow, amazing. Good, really amazing words. So, this is the thing, right? So if you're working through your own journey, right? And you're concentrating on yourself, obviously, but at the same time, what did you suddenly realize that your story could help others and not just yourself? I mean, when did you realize that a book like this would help?
Well, I remember being in the hospital, and I felt very weak during this time, and I actually felt death over me. It was one of those points where I learned that when you heard the old saints, the old people would say, "My soul is tired," I, I understood it then. That it's not that they was tired of being around, but their soul was just tired of fighting, tired of battling whatever they was dealing with, whether it's cancer or diabetes or heart failure, any of those things. They're so just because it's a battle, it's a continuous fight. So when my heart stopped, and I recall God sending an angel to me saying that not yet. There's still work for you to do. You need to prepare my young people for their destiny. And I remember waking up and seeing the doctor in front of me.
That's
As I did that thing, it was amazing. Then, the nurses and the doctors would come around and talk to me. And then there were people come by and speak to me, and I would share my story. Then I remember going down to the physical rehab center, and I found myself talking more and more to those who was in the physical rehab center versus they have back surgery, some had memory loss, rehabbing their arms, and there was some soldiers there that was dealing with some issues. And I found myself them being drawn to me because of the things I was sharing with them to try to help them become better. Then I realized, I need to put this on paper. I need to get this out because the most important thing I wanted people to know, it's not about money for me, but I wanted to be able to help as many people as possible because I felt blessed to be able to go through those things and to be able to be equipped with those tools to be able to help me become better. So I wanted to do the same for others.
Wow. Truly inspiring, honestly. I mean, how did you manage to keep your sanity and hope alive through all of this trauma that you went through? This is what gets me. You're in hospital, you're recovering, but you're still sharing your story with other people. How did you do that?
I'm a giver, and sometimes I'm a pleaser too. I don't like to see people unhappy. I believe for me, if I can make a difference in someone's day, then that was a great day for me. So, I felt that, I believe we all have certain inner strength in us. And some of us have different callings. They're like, even in ministries, you can say somebody, oh, well, they're a preacher or they're an elder or they're a minister. Well, everybody can't do everything. We all have to have our goals in our gift. So once you understand that, it was a lot easier for me to keep my sanity when I was with everyone because I knew I wasn't alone. I knew God had me. He didn't bring me back just to leave me. There was a purpose in my life, and understanding that purpose, understanding that my life did not belong to me, the gift that did not belong to me, the tools that he blessed me with, and to understand was not just for me, it was for me to give out to others to help them as much as possible. So that would help me to be able to keep my sanity through that. And, even through the challenges of military, I love the military with all my heart. I believe it really helped me when I was going playing football, but that wasn't my destiny. My destiny was in the military where I got to see change, where I got to see people fighting for their democracy, where I was part of that, helping them to become a democracy, helping them fight for their freedom, and to help them endure some of the economic issues that they was dealing with. So it really helped me. a lot, and those things and I'm grateful for right now.
Yeah, right. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, well, you describe faith quite often, and obviously, as you say, you're a man of God. But was there a time when your faith was tested, and you've obviously fought that and come back on it? So, yeah, I mean, was there a time like that? How did you deal with it?
Whew, that's a tough question.
Yeah, I'm sorry to ask.
Because with my faith was tested, and I can say in several ways. Well, one, I can give you, our team was called on a mission, and we was about 100 miles behind enemy lines. Our goal was to get there to get some intel.
Right.
I have a team of 4, so we get there, we're set up. We was gonna have to be there for a few days, so we knew that we had to, get things together. Understanding we didn't have any backup on the ground or anything like that. We did have air support if needed, but the whole point was no one was supposed to know that we was there.
Right.
And so we sat there, and as that time went, we were getting things done. The enemies around, we see the movements, we color them, everything in. Then it was time to go. And as we got ready to leave, the enemy started coming around us. They started coming around. I remember praying, saying, Lord, you said you was going to get us out of this. And so they was all around us, and it was closing in. And I remember one of my soldiers said, well, I guess God didn't hear you, Sarge, because they're all around us. I said, it's going to be okay. He said, I don't know. It's looking pretty bad. So I don't know what we're going to do, because they became about 20 meters to us. And I'm saying, Lord, help us. And then all of a sudden, I hear over the radio, because we have our comms, they tell us to be still, because they was completely around us, And so at first, I said to myself, well, I don't believe in being captured, because I'm supposed to fight to the end.
Right.
So in my mind, this was going to be my end. And then something in me said, no, I never failed you. And then when he said that, I get the radio call, because they could see us on the satellite, and said the circle that we was in the center, that the enemy had moved up out this way, so we can able to move through to get to our LZ. So my faith was challenged in that aspect, And if you want, I can share another event where my faith was challenged.
Yeah, absolutely. Please, yeah.
My faith was challenged during the domestic violence issue. Well, I was innocent, and I couldn't believe this person who loved me was telling those lies and told everybody certain things. And when the police came, they put me in cuffs. When I used to work on the other side, I'm like, look, Lord. And as we was going to the car, I hear him says, a voice said, trust me. I'm with you. And I'm in my mind, I'm like, trust you. I'm in cuffs, Lord. I'm innocent, and yet you're saying trust you. And then I said, okay, Lord, I'm going to trust you, and I'm going to trust the system. And so with that being said, it was hard, because I went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But I saw God work in all these things. I saw him start moving things. There was one instance where I was in the office with my attorney, and my ex had told them that I had tried to reach her by the phone. Well, we had been in the office for a while, so we knew that didn't happen. And so that's when things started to unravel. That's when things started to, stuff I didn't pay for, they began to research themselves. They began to investigate themselves. And then they later, found out that, she was lying, and came and apologized to me, which my attorney said that he has never, in his 22 years, ever seen a prosecutor go and apologize to someone.
Wow.
But they felt sorry that I had to endure what I had to endure. And they wanted me to know that. And that taught me again more lessons, and it made my faith much stronger. Um, it made it more possible because now I got to see it again and again and again.
Again, incredible, Robert. Your stories are just incredible and just full of hope, I think, as well, which is a great thing. I mean, how has your life been influenced by your time in the military, as well as obviously the domestic violence part of things? I mean, how does it influence your view of strength, vulnerability, and I guess really survival? That's what we're talking about here.
Well, it influenced it dramatically because, again, it made me strong. Now when things come before me, I don't just say, "Whoa, I can't handle this." I take a moment, see what's happening, find out what other avenues that I can do to remove myself from it, or do I have to deal with it and to go through it. Life has challenges throughout, and if you're living, you're going to experience it. And it really helped me with that strength to influence me to be able to, okay, I can do it. My training in the military taught me that when I think I've done all that I can, I find out that I actually could have done more. It let me know that I haven't pushed myself to the point where I can't go anymore, if I can go some more. So when people say, well, I couldn't do anymore, you find out, well, I still had more strength. I still had more energy. So I could have done more. And there's more that I can do. But that also in that, it showed that vulnerability myself, because it showed my nervousness, even in combat, where, don't get me wrong, you knew what you had to do. As a sergeant, as a leader, and you have a leader of your team, you don't show fear. But in reality, you're fearful. You're fearful because not only you are charged with your life, but you're charged with other soldiers' life. And you're trying to make sure that everything that you do is the right thing to do, so you and them can come home. And sometimes that vulnerability is shown because some of that compassion is seen in you. Some of that sadness when you see your fellow brother or sister dying on the battlefield, and you begin to share tears when you're a man and you're not supposed to cry. So it shows that vulnerability of, wow, I'm sensitive to these things because this person wasn't able to get home to see their baby daughter or their son or their wife, So knowing those things, and then knowing that there are possibilities that we may not come home. So those things gave me strength, showed my vulnerability, even in domestic violence that I thought I was prayed up, and I thought that when he said that, my professor during the teaching angelology and demonology told me you have to be careful because now the enemy know you since you know them. But you get a little cocky and arrogant and say, oh, shoot, I prayed up all the time. I ain't worried about anything. And I was prepared for all those on the outside of me, but never in a million years would I thought that he would use someone close to me to get to me. So that vulnerability of giving that person everything, my all, made me vulnerable to attack.
Right.
But when it all said and done, it made me stronger. It made me a survivor because I survived it all. I'm still here today. I'm still standing, is what I say.
No, exactly.
It's just like a mountain. We always say, we have a mountain here in Pikes Peak and Shine Mountain. I said, you can throw national disasters at it, You can bomb it, you can shoot artillery at it, and when all the dust clears, the mountain still stands. And that's how we have to be. Just like that mountain. We're going to get hit with a lot of things. But if you're still standing, that shows your strength and you survived it.
See, now there you go. Now that sounds like a battle-tested soldier, if ever there was. So, I mean, do you think that everyone has a battle-tested soldier within them then? I mean, how can people, no, sure, do you think that everyone can tap into, well, not necessarily the same level, I understand, of inner resilience, right? Not the same level. You know, you're way up here, I'd be way down here compared to you. But do you think everyone has a potential to be a battle-tested soldier? I mean, how they deal with things, do you think?
Absolutely. I believe even a young child has the ability to become battle-tested soldier. Why? Because when they first learn to walk, they have to fall and fall and fall and never give up. So they're falling, and then eventually they continue to move on. They continue to try. They learn that, whoa, okay, I got to have my balance. And then they learn that balance, and then they're able to take that first step, and then they start taking more steps. So as they continue to go through that, they're becoming battle tested in that challenge. So we all have them in many different ways. Our relationships, our health, our mental state, all those things. So I really believe 100% that everybody has a battle-tested soldier in them. They can overcome within. They can do anything is possible. All you have to do is try. And then if you don't know, get help. Ask somebody. You know, if you're dealing with depression and PTSD or any of those things, understand being battle-tested doesn't mean you have to fight it by yourself. It's having that good support system or having someone that you can talk to. And then in a professional level, have someone to help you, guide you, and so you can make the right decision so you become battle tested. You're still doing the work, so you become battle tested. It's just they're telling you, as in the gym, what weights you need to work that muscle, but you still got to do the work to gain that muscle to become battle tested. So everyone, I believe, without a doubt, have that within them.
Yeah, I love that that analogy with the baby, actually, with the walking. It's perfect, isn't it? You're right. The resilience of having to get back up again. The baby doesn't give up, right? So, you know, the baby just goes and goes and goes. So I see what you're saying. Yeah, brilliant. So, I mean, what do you think is what's the message that you want your readers to walk away with after reading Battle Tested Soldier then?
Well, I would like for them to be encouraged. I would like for them to get hope, understanding that they're not alone by themselves, regardless of what they're dealing with. Somebody might be going through something, maybe not exactly like you, but I wanted to provide tools to allow them to help them navigate and to utilize those tools that was given, because there's no such thing as something that's 100% that's going to help you. But you find, just like a mechanic, you know, one tool don't work, you got another one. You're not just stuck on that. And that's what I wanted to provide, so they can see that he didn't just share his story. He just didn't talk about resilience and mental and physical and spiritual battles and how he did. He provided tools. He gave me a way. So maybe I might not have no one right now, but I can use these things as a beginning to win my battle. And, you know, so that's what I wanted them to be able to come out of, to be able to know that they got hope, understanding, be encouraged, understand that their battles can be won. We just have to continue to fight.
Oh, no, okay. So in that case then, for someone that's currently going through physical or emotional trauma, what would you say then is the first step towards healing? You know, what can really, help somebody to get towards that?
I always say identify the core problem.
Right.
When you're dealing with trauma, So what was this trauma? So what did I go through to make me feel this way? And if I've been trying to fix these things and deal with these things on my own, how can I get help with it? And by getting help with it allows me part of the healing process, because now I have identified what the trauma is. I know what I need to do now to overcome it. And then once I overcome it, I have faith and I feel it's that healing, knowing I can move forward. So first is the identifying and getting help.
Well, that's the point, isn't it? You've got to identify what the issue is, right? I guess. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So what I love about this and our conversation as well, which has been fantastic, you've turned your pain into a message. So what advice would you give to others who want to do the same? And because I can't even think about how I could possibly start to do what you've done. It's so good.
I would say do it. It's step outside your box. Like this was out for me. I'm used to writing for myself, for my eyes only, but this was something that not only would I see, but there was going to be people all around. And I was worried about what they was going to say and what they was going, the judgment behind it. But again, it wasn't about that. For me, it said, hey, you got a purpose. Don't worry about everybody else. I told you to do this. So go with their gut to do what they feel that they are called to do. If they have something they can share it. If they can help just one person with their story, then that was worth it. Yeah. It was worth sharing. So stepping outside that box, not being afraid, that don't worry about being the superstar or the super writer. If you have something that you feel that I really need to get this out because I know I'm not the only one in suffering, then just do it. And you'll be so grateful that you did.
Yeah, like you seem to be, right? So
right.
Yeah, right. So because looking at how grateful you are and how positive you're coming across today, it's great. I mean, how has your faith, because you've mentioned this a few times now, how has that evolved throughout your journey, in combat and recovery, to authorship, really? How has your faith evolved throughout that journey?
Well, I've grown, I guess it's from a baby in Christ to a man in Christ. so with my faith, it continued to grow as well. He continued to show me that he is God. When they told me that I've had 6 months to live, I'm still here.
Wow.
I'm still here. I'm still functioning. I'm still growing. He has allowed me to be exposed to so much technology when it comes to heart failure that they have allowed me to participate in, to allow me to be able to function and just do common things around my family and friends, to be able to do the simplest things, the basic thing. Sometimes just eating, get you tired because your heart has to work very hard in order to process that food. So that faith has grown and grown and grown because he's shown me more than once. Not even with just myself, I can see it in others. I see how he's continued to do things in people's lives. So my faith is very strong. I believe that through those trials, through those storms, through those battles that I had to deal with, in all the relationship that I have with him, as you stated, going through combat, making it through over 7 combat tours, being where I am today, it's really hard to challenge my faith right now.
Yeah, right. Well, no, you've been guided, it sounds like, right? Yes. Well, I think it's time for you to put your feet up, to be fair, but do you have any upcoming projects or messages that you're passionate about?
Well, like go fishing time right now. Well, I do. I do believe, again, there's still things inside of me that I need to get out and share. And one of the other things is we're going to be doing seminars based on the book.
Oh, excellent.
To be able to help those. Because again, so just because you get it doesn't necessarily mean you know how to utilize those tools. So I want to help them, all those who need it, to be able to help them use those tools that are given so they can become successful, so they can see the effectiveness of it. Why? Because they've been trained to use those tools. You can give somebody a weapon and they got a weapon, but if you don't teach them how to use it, it's not even effective to them.
Yeah.
So doing seminars, and then I'm working on a book called Just Because You're a Male Don't Make You a Man. You know, teaching about what it really means about being a man. Just because you're a male, you know, there's some things that you must do in order to be a man.
That's a good point. That's a good point, actually. Very classy as well. Do you know what, Robert? Honestly, I think your seminars are going to go down a storm, and I think your book is going to go down a storm as well. And, you know, Robert, thank you for your honesty and your courage, right? And sharing your incredible journey with us. I'm going to be thinking about this for a long time after we've finished. But listen, we've run out of time now, unfortunately. So I've just got to say, before I say goodbye to you, that The Battle-Tested Soldier is more than a book, people. It's a lifeline for those who feel like they're, well, drowning in hardship, really, as you've heard. Your words, Robert, remind us that while the battles are real, so is the strength that we can find within. I mean, you've really mentioned that. To our listeners, if you're looking for a story that speaks to the heart of human resilience, right, we really encourage you to grab a copy of Battle-Tested Soldier by Robert Petties. It's available now wherever books are sold, so make sure you grab a copy. And until next time, keep turning the pages, keep shining your light, and remember, every story matters. This has been the BrightWord Books Podcast, and thank you for listening. And Robert, thank you for coming along and telling us your story.
Well, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.